Good morning, Ram Nation. Welcome into DNVR Rams Live, presented by High Plainz Strains, the Northeastern Colorado dispensary, providing top-quality cannabis and a wide variety of products. If you give them a visit, be sure to mention DNVR to take advantage of their deals. It's a Thursday morning, snowy Thursday morning, but the vibes are good here at DNVR, as they always are. We've got a loaded show for you. I've got my main man, Andre Simone, here, the regional draft expert, to talk about Dallin Holker.
I love that.
Hey, I think that's what should be on your business card.
Could be.
Amongst other things. I mean, you're a jack of all trades.
The profile does say something the Twitter profile doesn't say something draft related. Do you ever, you're doing a live radio hit and they introduce you and read your Twitter profile verbatim? Yeah. Are you ever like, shit, I meant to update that 5 years ago? Yeah. I really wish you weren't introducing me like this.
I did take some personal stuff out of that because I used to have like hip hop head and sneaker fan. Somebody was like, yeah, he's into hip hop and sneakers. Yes. And I'm just like, all right.
It's like, I don't know that I needed that. Oh God. Yeah. So good.
We're also going to talk the Mountain West Bowl slate, which I think deceptively, if you look at some of the conferences, the Mountain West has some of the more intriguing bowls going into this year, just in terms of not a ton of opt-outs. You're going to get a lot of the star players playing, and there's just some weird storylines. So we'll get into that as well. And obviously we'll talk Hoops Power Rankings, which we do every single week here.
Damn straight.
Before we get into everything, I guess I just got to talk about this Twitter drama from last night. I didn't even see it last night because when I'm off, I try to avoid some of the chaos online as much as possible, just because I already spend too much time on that website. But
damn straight.
I guess, you know, the Prime thing on Amazon came out. Obviously, the interaction between Jay Norvell and Deion Sanders was in that.
Yep.
That, you know, stirred up the whole conversation again online, to which Kim Norvell responded to somebody. I don't have the exact tweet, but basically called Shadur a B, implying he's a bitch for flexing after Jay had turned.
Right.
She can't do that. I mean, she's the wife of the head coach. I mean, you got to represent the program. It's well known on this program that I love the Norvells. I love Kim. I think she's great. She's like me. She probably gets a little too emotional at times. And again, it's why there are certain times of the night where I just avoid being online because I don't want to get spicy with people. I know I can.
Yeah.
It's just a situation where if you don't have something nice to say, it's best not to say it at all, especially given the way this CSU-CU stuff has going all the way back to September, which has just been a corny mess, frankly. I think both sides have looked very dorky at times. I thought Jay's comments about Deion at the beginning were lame. I do think it was inspired more to spark his team, but obviously what he said fired up CU. I thought the way they handled it was corny. I think it's just been dorky from the get-go. I don't think anybody has looked good in this entire instance. And I just think it's a situation where there's enough to go on between CSU, CU and this rivalry. Like, we don't need to stoke the flames anymore. It's already going to be intense enough, especially on campus. So that's my 2 cents on it. I'm not going to make it this big dramatic thing. I think it's a rivalry. I think we all say things that we don't mean at times, but I also think that
feels like a rivalry for real now.
Yeah, I mean,
I've kind of been poking fun at you guys for years. Like, just shut up with this stuff. You guys both benefit from each other's success. This year, I was like, wow. So this is what y'all have been talking about all this time, huh? It's a real deal, Holyfield. Also, advice to Kim: easier to get spicy on a podcast than it is on Twitter. Start your own podcast. Might be a great idea.
It's true. You can get a lot of shots at people in there. Just kind of throw them in subtly. They get lost in the mix.
Oh, my
what are you going to do? Go through
AP.
60 minutes and find it? I mean,
thanks for the views, buddy. I appreciate the podcast downloads. Use our codes, when you do it. I think your take's kind of correct. Yeah, bit of a corny mess. It's been great for engagement. It's been lots of talk of Colorado and Colorado State, and that was an epic showdown, and I wish it was more about the epic showdown.
It was a great game.
And just a reminder of the two people who probably handled it best, Travis Hunter, Henry Blackburn, a tremendous example for us all, and one that I will try to carry with me through the offseason. Easy for me to say when I'm really invested in the success of both teams. I just want college everything to be awesome in this state because I know how fucking cool it is. So I hate when the actual performance on the field gets watered down by these kind of stories. It's also the content game, so I get it.
Well, look, I mean, like, I don't blame anybody that was talking about it last night. Frankly,
it's juicy.
Yeah, and I get it. Like it is newsworthy. Like I understand why that people are talking about it. My whole thing is just that I talk football. I break down the action. I like to dive into the actual sport.
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in the TMZ-ification of college sports and trying to be first take and like, we're going to blow this up for the next week. This is all we're going to talk about. We're going to act like this is the biggest deal when in reality, 3 days from now, nobody's going to be thinking about it anymore. I'm sure it'll get brought up again as we get closer to the game next week.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me if game day is back for it and all that, even in Fort Collins, which is going to be, it's going to be wild. But I mean, it is a rivalry. If we have proved anything over the last 6 months, it is in fact a rivalry. I don't want to ever hear that it's not again.
Yeah. No, I think you're right on that.
That's
man.
my two thoughts, but let's just get into it here. Let's talk about the big news for CSU football in terms of actual football on the field, how their offense is going to be impacted next year by the loss of Dallin Holker. I want to get your perspective on how you view him at the next level, but just some numbers I want to point out here in terms of how big Holker was for the offense this past season. In 2022, the first year that Norvell was in town, CSU tight ends combined, this was 4 tight ends, they combined for 21 total catches, 220 yards, 1 touchdown. In 2023, Holker by himself, 64 catches, 3 times the reception load of the entire CSU tight end stable, 767 yards, 7 total touchdowns, led all tight ends in the FBS in total receptions and receiving yards. I've already given my rant on the Mackey a million times. I'm not surprised that Brock Bowers won, just given his status across the country.
It's a bad call.
But my argument was that with how much time he missed, I felt like Holker deserved it.
Yeah. And honestly, had the Rams just eked out 1 or 2 more of those wins that they were oh so close to pulling out, he probably gets it.
Yeah, I think the lack of team success probably hurt him. If you're a 7-8 win team, I think you probably get it, especially with the big moment against Boise State. He performed well against Washington and CU in those, Power 5 games. So he obviously had a great season, first team All Mountain West. He's been named a second team All-American by essentially every outlet out there. So, I mean, if you're not playing in a year in which there's arguably the most generational tight end prospect that's ever lived, he probably takes home quite a bit of hardware. Nevertheless, obviously going to be a guy that we're all very interested to see how he projects at the next level. One of the things that I talked about the other day, just this was kind of my gut reaction having covered him and watched him all year. He is a great pass catcher. I think he has a great understanding of the field. He's a lot like Kelsey in a sense where it's just like he just kind of gets open. He'll sink into an area where a DB and linebacker aren't.
Yeah.
That's great. You love all of that. I worry, though, just in terms of his draft status, he's not going to test through the roof. Like, he's not going to be the most explosive guy.
Yep.
He's not going to run through the roof his 40 times. Not going to be anything to brag home about.
As close to a 4.75 as he can, but I'm guessing he'll be off-ish by a smidge.
Yeah.
Undersized as well.
He's undersized, and he's 24 years old. I mean, he went on the 2-year mission at BYU, so that obviously impacts his timeline. I do think that he maybe could have benefited from coming back and just kind of putting a little bit more on tape as a run blocker. That's really not his specialty. He's out there, he blocks, but it's not Trey McBride. It's not Kittle or something like that. And I just worry that given he's not, Kyle Pitts out there, he's not going to run a 4.5. He's not going to jump through the roof.
Right.
And he's also not going to be a guy that you put out there to block and special teams and do gritty type stuff. what's your role then as a 24-year-old prospect? I feel like size-wise, he's more of an H-back type than a true
that's right.
pass-catching tight end. But again, if you're an H-back, you got to like make a living blocking. And maybe, you know, he spends the next 6 months honing it in and is like able to kind of figure it out.
Right.
But at 24 years old, if you're an NFL GM, I think you look at him 7th round, late 6th round, maybe.
Tight ends are always tricky how the NFL sees them because, I mean, there are plenty of years where I see guys going in the 3rd or 4th who I had an undrafted grade on, you know, and then guys who I might have thought were way higher just because of their combination of whatever, and we know how the draft is, injuries and what have you, knock you down. Holker's really interesting. Sounds like you're a bit disappointed that he's left and you think he could have benefited from staying, which I think is probably a right read in that offense. What NFL evaluators are going to have to figure out is he that H-back? Think Andrew Beck, who former Bronco, former Texas Longhorn, has had a really nice season with the Texans in Houston, kind of been a nice little outlet for CJ Stroud. Is he more Cole Turner, Jay's former Coach Norvell at Nevada, right? That's with Jordan Love, Romeo Dubs. Cole
Carson
Turner,
Strong.
the
Loves Utah State.
damn it all, yeah.
They all blend together.
Why
dude.
do I do? It's the jersey colors.
Yeah, I get it.
Carson Strong, thanks.
Similar vertical passing offenses too.
More of a receiving tight end. He's with the Commandos right now.
Commanders, yeah.
And, you know, maybe not a stellar athlete. He's more of like a red zone weapon right now.
The only
like
thing
a
is Cole
rotational
Turner's
tight
like
end.
6'7" and jumps through the roof.
He's bigger, and that's what makes him. What it's really going to come down to, Dallin, is how much can he maximize that ability to kind of wiggle himself open in the seam, right? Which is what you highlighted. You're exactly right. It's the east-west movement for a big guy is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
The north-south, and this is blocking, this is straight line speed, explosiveness off the first step. That's where he's really going to have to hone in the offseason and really work on that explosive testing, because he's not super big and you just don't see a ton of pop if he's in line, or even if he has a head of steam getting to the second level and really blocking and bearing guys. Guys can get into his inside shoulder, just kind of bullying him around. I think he's like 6'4", 235 he's listed at. And when you're listed at that,
it's usually a little generous.
Right. Hands are great. Ability to use his body and shield guys off is fantastic. Production speaks for itself.
And I've genuinely never heard a bad thing about Dallin. So I don't want this to be taken as me like trying to crap all over him or make it seem like he's not talented. I just argued he should have been the Mackey winner. His impact for this CSU offense is huge, and his loss is massive for them.
That's massive.
But just when you're, trying to evaluate a guys as draft prospects, you're trying to poke holes and you're trying to think, it's all about the margins. We talk about it all the time. And given that he is an older guy, given that, he's not the rawest blocker in the world, as we're saying, he's going to have to kind of prove some stuff here over the next 6 months, whether it's at, various showcases, his pro day, all that type of stuff. It's going to be big for him. How he tests is going to be huge, I think, in terms of where he actually gets drafted.
It's going to be massive. The advantage he has is when you stack up this class of tight ends going into this 2024 draft class. Now, not everyone's declared yet. He's one of the more promising receiving options.
Well, the hands are legit. I mean, we saw it all year.
And, I mean, it's a passing league, so that's going to get some intrigue. He is, for Kuiper, the 6th fullback H-back. And as you mentioned, I mean, you're going to have to figure some stuff out as a blocker to really justify that. I think he's going to be a nice rotational piece, 2nd, 3rd, tight end, with these expanded taxi practice squads, rather.
Which is huge, especially for a guy like him when you have the right work ethic. Just get in an NFL camp, work your way onto the roster, and you never know. Like, we see guys pan out all the time.
Well, and let's face it, the injuries are so
huge.
Plentiful in the NFL that 53-man roster is really like a 70-man roster. And those guys on your practice squad, by the time November, December rolls around, plenty of guys might just emerge and have to be starters for you, or like big rotational pieces, because the injuries stacked up that way. And Dallin's one of those guys where he went to the right situation, right offense. Like, If he went to the Eagles, I could see them doing a lot of
I do think fit will be
stuff,
huge for him because it's going to have to be a team that recognizes what he's great at. And, he does have some areas where he needs to refine. There's always room for consistent pass catchers, though.
Damn
and for
straight.
a guy, if you can be a red zone option, if you can be a guy that just moves the sticks. I mean, the Broncos could use a guy like Dallin right now, just
no
on
kidding.
third down, keeping the sticks moving.
kidding.
So I wish him nothing but the best. I'm rooting for him. I hope that I'm totally off and that an NFL team's like, nah, screw it. We know what to do with him. He's going to be consistent, a guy that we can target in the red zone, third down. We'll take him in the 4th, 5th round. I do think, though, that age, the testing and all of that is going to kind of factor against him. I mean, that's the thing about Trey McBride. Like, not only did he have the production, not only did he have it on film, not only was he a couple years younger than Dallin coming out, he tested through the roof. Like, that's a lot in your...
Trey's production, looking back,
It's insane.
and we were saying this at the time, let's be clear, but what he did with Todd
Centeio.
Bless us all for having watched that man play quarterback. Bless him for giving it his all. Centeio at quarterback is insane. Absurd. So glad to see what Trey's doing. How much could Trey give him a bit of a bump,
Well, and that's the other thing,
Like,
too.
don't
It's
overlook that CSU production. Like, you maybe did it once. Don't make that mistake twice.
a good point.
But as different
situations. And I
different
mean,
talent, size.
well, and Trey is, I just want, like, Dallin is great. He was an all-conference tight end. Massive addition for the team. He's not Trey McBride. And that's fair to say.
And
very few tight ends in the country are.
100%. Very few tight ends in the NFL, turns out, are this year. I was at that Senior Bowl. Trey just, like, smacked every defender in one-on-ones, did his thing in blocking drills, did his thing on, like, 7-on-7, 11-on-11 in blocking. He was, like, just head and shoulders above the rest as a tight end at that showcase. So, I mean, Holker's going to have to do stuff like that.
He's legitimately him and Kyler. They're like the faces of that Cardinals franchise right now.
Oh, 100%.
Like, that's what you build around moving forward.
100%. Yeah, no, he's a hot commodity in my dynasty leagues, no doubt.
We're obviously pulling for Dallin. It's great to have Dre on here to get his perspective, chop it up as far as how he projects at the next level. Got some love in the comments section.
Yeah, just loving on Oso Blanco. I appreciate him, man.
Much love, guys. Much love to everybody. If you don't mind throwing the thumbs up, I appreciate everybody getting up nice and early with us on a cold morning. I want to talk to you guys real quick about the Circa Resort and Casino out in Las Vegas. It is the world's largest sports book. It's a 3-story stadium-style operation. It takes 10 people just to operate the 78 million pixel screen. Food choices, legit. Stadium swim, the most legit place I've ever been in my life. The rooms are great. I mean, it's luxury experience out in Vegas, which is what you want, because let's be real, some of those spots out there are real gnarly.
Yeah.
Not
and if
a
you want to
Circa.
see the Broncos early January, we've got the trip of trips. Go out there, book your ticket. It's not just, you can get a discount on Circa rooms. You can get our special tailgate tickets. You can get all their kind of events that they're doing there related. It's access to their stadium swim and all that stuff.
And the watch
It's
party.
amazing, man. Yeah,
and you
watch
get an
party,
annual
exactly.
diehard membership
Yeah,
included.
that's true. Free shirt, all that, man.
So it's huge.
Elite. Gotta do that. Might be a nice little Christmas present.
Perfect time. Holiday season is upon us. If you're heading out to Vegas, make sure you book your stay at the Circa Resort and Casino using the code DNVR20 for 20% off. Also, the Circa Sportsbook app is available for download in Colorado. Just download it at circasports.com. Circa Sports bets can be made only while physically located in the state of Colorado. Must be 21 or older. All rights reserved. Circa Sports Colorado encourages you to gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call or text 1-800-GAMBLER or visit problemgamblingcolorado.org. It's the time of year where it seems like everybody I know is getting sick. I had bronchitis for about 3 weeks. It was gnarly. My parents are sick right now. My brother's getting over a cold.
Yeah.
I know it's gone through the office too. It's gnarly, and you want to take care of yourself, especially with the holiday season coming up. Our next partner, AG1, they are so key.
Yes.
So key to our daily foundational
That's true,
nutrition, which it all starts with setting a base.
Right.
You know, it's like stretching or working out or anything. You got to get that base foundation.
Okay, you're gonna guilt trip me. I got it.
Trust me, man. I looked in the mirror when I got out of the shower this morning. We all have work to do. We all can improve ourselves, and that's what's great about AG1. You know, I wanted better gut health. I wanted a boost in my immune system. I think we've all just been a little more conscientious of that these last couple of years. I hate pills and vitamins. I'm not going to take 14 different shakes. Nobody's got time for that. I just don't.
Yeah, no, it's true.
And that's what's great. One scoop in my cup of water, bang, I'm done. All great athletes have one thing in common. They take care of their bodies. A huge part of that starts with optimizing whole body health. A lot of them drink AG1. That's why I'm a huge fan. With every daily serving, I'm setting myself up with 75 high-quality ingredients that give me the daily nutrients and support energy, focus, strength, and clarity. All good things. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, try AG1. Get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/Rams. That's drinkag1.com/Rams to check it out. Boom. I love AG1. Shout out. They sent me a nice sweater a while back. It was very random.
What?
Yeah, it's like white. I kind of look like Mr. Rogers in it.
Dang, man. You're bringing home the
I don't
goods.
know. I know we've had some turnover actually on the Rams. Some Rams fans have gotten into AG1, so maybe that's their way of showing some love. I certainly have nothing but love for them. I also have nothing but love for bowl season.
So good.
I get that it's not what it used to be. I fully understand that. Even in like 2007, 2008, like we've watered it down so much because of the playoff. There's probably too many bowls, but honestly, they don't hurt anybody. They're in the daytime. Like they're for people that are unemployed or like me that are fortunate to get to do this for a living and have that be a part of what they do. You know, I'll be cranking out some written content while the Hawaii Bowl's on in the background or whatever. But
it's nice to have on when you're just like lazing around with the fam.
It's kind of reminds me of like the
stuff.
bubble, you know, when it's just like a Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh, I got NHL and NBA action. Hell yeah.
That's right.
So I don't have to watch the soap operas today.
I do wonder how much of the bowl resentment is that for gamblers, it's hard to keep up on who's out and who's in.
Well, that's a huge problem. And I do think one way that
like you almost get blindsided.
Yeah, they need to find a way to incentivize these players, and in an NIL world, maybe it has to do with like financial compensation or something. And
and the transfer portal's really messing things up to where the timing is you got to kind of transfer out.
Well, that's the window. You can't play in your bowl and transfer. You got to do it ahead of time. And
yeah, so that they got to figure that out. They have to for sure.
We're going to start with the New Mexico Bowl, which is what I was hoping the Rams would end up in. Fresno State taking on New Mexico State. New Mexico State led by head coach Jerry Krill. One of the cooler stories in sports, he's a guy who worked his way up to Minnesota, had to step down because he has epilepsy, unfortunately. That's been a factor throughout his career. But his turnaround in Las Cruces is quite something. Obviously, the strength of schedule is not great when you're a WAC team. But I think the fact that they're able to win down there, I don't know if you've ever been to Las Cruces, they don't have the greatest resources at their disposal. And, it's certainly not going to Albuquerque or Santa Fe. I think they're a really tough team. Fresno State's in a tough spot. They're not going to have head coach Jeff Tedford, who had to step down for his own health reasons. Wish him nothing but best. Little personal story, the interim head coach, Tim Skipper, used to be the associate head coach for CSU football under Jim McElwain. He is the reason I got hired by CSU football, indirectly jump-started my entire career. So I'm pulling for Fresno State hard because Tim Skipper is my guy. I got a lot of love for him. Really tough spot, though, if you're Fresno. You've been kind of shaky to close out the season. Quarterback, I think Mikey Keene is going to play based on what I've read, which is big, but...
Yeah, how motivated are they?
Yeah. What are you playing for? You're 3.5-point dogs. Like, do you want to end it on a high note? I got to assume that New Mexico State's going to have the advantage in the stands.
Yeah.
Where you see this one? 3.5 points.
That's why New Mexico State's the 3.5-point favorite in this one. And yeah, I just think they've got a little more motivation playing at home. Pretty important season for them. There wasn't that letdown that Fresno had, which I think skews a bit. It was still a half decent season. I just think the expectations coming off last year and how well they started.
The fact that they were able to, they started so much better than expected given what they lost. So like realistically, how they finished was probably a more accurate representation of what that team was. You got hot early. You beat a couple of Power 5 teams that weren't great, but still true road P5 wins are nothing to scoff at.
This is in 2 days. I'm surprised we haven't seen more movement and that this line hasn't skewed a little more towards Fresno, who's the easier name brand, and I could see more public money going on. So I might wait till day of to take New Mexico State, see if I can eke a half point out of this with some movement towards Fresno. But yeah, I think that's the smarter play right here.
If I made you take one today, though, 3.5.
Definitely New Mexico.
Definitely New Mexico State. Yeah. I'm going to take Fresno, but again, for sake of honesty, Tim Skipper's my guy, and I need you guys to know that.
That's right.
We got a question here from Evan Hodson Music. I assume no, but any word on Torrey Horton returning? No update as of yet. Hope that comes soon. I've had some people ask, does Holker's decision impact that? I don't really think so. It's really going to come down to what type of evaluation him and the staff are getting. You're able to do it through the NFL. I think it's draft evaluation committee or something, what it's called, where you're, the underage prospects or the early declarees are able to get a realistic sense of where NFL teams view them.
Yeah.
If he's projected like 4th to 6th, I think there's a pretty good chance he comes back. If he's projected,
second,
third,
higher,
I think you got to go. Which there's just too much money at stake. The benefit is that he's only 21 years old, just turned 21 after the season, so a young 21. The need to get to the league isn't quite the same as it is for some other guys, and I think if he came back and had another monster season, put a bunch of contested catches on film, 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, doing everything he's done, I think he's athletic enough, especially with what he's able to do in the open field, to potentially play his way into the second, late first round under the right circumstances.
I do too.
We all know, though, it's a risk reward, and it's one of those. Yes, you could play your way into the first. You could also get hurt. It's such a tough call.
It's just how stacked this wide receiver class is, and the injuries, because he got
beat up this year, and he took some shots. There were actually some times I felt like schematically, I was like, what are we doing here? Mm-hmm. Don't put him in the middle. Don't have him take that shot. It's not necessary. I think his toughness was one of the biggest takeaways from this season. I knew he was a damn good receiver. I knew he was athletic as hell. The fact that he didn't miss any games, didn't finish a couple of games because he got blew up, but the fact that he didn't miss a single game is a testament to just his mentality. And there are so many guys, Jay talked about that all season, just with, so many receivers. Yes, they have all the talent, but they're kind of like sports cars where it's, this one little thing's off, you can't go. I've joked all year that Horton's like a 92 Civic, 300,000 miles, the right door's banked in, but guess what? I'm driving that thing 600 miles on this road trip, and it's going to get there because he's just dependable.
Yeah, I mean, he has some really high-end traits, though.
Well, he's the Civic, but
he just has to be 100% to run that 4.3, 4.4 that, I think he's going to run.
He ran the fastest chasing down Shiloh Sanders, I think, on the interception in the RMS was the fastest recorded time by any college football player all season.
Yeah,
so,
the dude's got wheels for days.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think the profile is very similar to Stephon Diggs coming out of Maryland.
I'm so glad you said yes. I've thought that.
I don't think he's a shithead like Diggs is. But
no, and that's, you don't have to worry about all the crap. I like Fresno State. He likes New Mexico State. We got a little sidetrack there. Boise State versus UCLA in the LA Bowl.
Yeah.
Neither team has their quarterback.
No. Portal Town, USA over here. CJ Tiller, you have in your notes, freshman starting quarterback for Boise.
First career start. They do have Genti, though. He is going to play.
Genti play. What happened to the other guy that they were rotating with Taylor Green?
Madsen, he's hurt. He's out for the year. And Taylor Green's going to Arkansas.
I hate that. Genti will play.
As far as I've read, that he's going to play. And because he's returning, he's not leaving.
And I assume guys like Latu and some of the better defenders UCLA won't be playing.
Boise is hot right now.
I know. I just I hate gambling on this freshman quarterback.
I don't love it.
They've I don't know. I mean, they were good, and yet they kind of stunk this.
But
year.
can you get 130 yards and 2 touchdowns, 2 to 3 TDs out of Genty against this UCLA front, which is not going to be whole? How into this game is UCLA? I think Boise, especially given that UCLA is kind of one of those programs that's kind of turned their nose up at Boise. Like UCLA is one of those teams, Cal, that would have scoffed at the idea of Boise joining the Pac-12 because they're not, the academics. I think if you're Boise, you go into this one really looking at it as an opportunity to make a statement. They played well under Spencer Danielson, but I'm going to go Boise outright money line plus 160.
Wow.
Just because I think GNT, given the holdouts and Latu and these guys not playing, GNT is the best player on the field.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna go with that. I just think they're the hotter team, more motivated, and I'm gonna go with them.
This is a tough. I mean, it's
I
again,
hate it.
These
though.
Bulls when you don't know.
It, man.
I haven't seen either quarterback.
Well, and I could tell you, I saw the 2 quarterbacks from Boise that started over this kid. They were not good.
Yeah.
So I doubt this guy's like the next Dan Marino.
He's gonna come out and just rip it up.
I'm not
now.
sure he's Arch Manning even.
Latu's a stud. He would look good in the orange and blue.
Latu's a beast.
Yeah, I'm into that. Shout out to Evan as well, digging the orange vibes. It's one of those days, man. Got the Carhartt on. It feels very Fort Collins, rocking orange for Breck Brew, the homies. I mean, it's what we do.
Yeah, I asked you if you were having an Ag Day when I saw you.
Ag Day is a state of mind.
Right. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Air Force 2.5 point underdogs in the Armed Forces Bowl against James Madison.
Best bowl we're talking about.
Really fun one, but also a hard one because again, you've got James Madison, who just lost their coach. You've got Air Force, who started 8-0, then lost 4 straight to close the season. They've been injured. You don't know who's all going to play. At the same time, I think I kind of just trust Air Force to figure this out. I feel like we've gone too far the other way now, where it's all right. Calhoun has a month to figure this out. They've still got veterans. I assume they're going to get Larrier back at QB because he was close to being back at the end of the regular season.
Yeah, they've got nothing to lose. They're not being poached by the portal. They're not having guys sit out because it's Air Force. It's just different.
They're going to play. So plus 114, I like that value. I certainly like them to cover the 2.5, though.
Yeah, Air Force outright. And if we like Air Force, we like the under 41?
Yes.
Okay.
Because we need that defense to look like they played at the beginning. If you let James Madison move the ball, and that's an offense that can move the ball on you.
Trouble.
We'll see.
Indeed. Okay. Love it.
We've got Utah State versus Georgia State in the Idaho Potato Bowl. Levi Williams will be starting for Utah State. He had a dramatic game-winning rushing touchdown against New Mexico. They should have lost that game. They shouldn't even be in a bowl. But kudos to them. Unlike CSU, they were able to pull it out with their backs against the wall. You play to win the games. They won theirs. I'm not going to make excuses.
What a crazy team.
This is the toughest one for me because Utah State's been all over the place all year, especially with no Cooper Legas out there. I assume they're going to try and lean on the ground game, but what made Utah State dangerous was the ability to stretch the field with all that speed on the outside.
Yeah. Utah State is what the Atlanta Falcons are for me in the NFL. They are the do not bet team. Just stay away. They're gonna screw me no matter what I do. If I'm on them, they're losing. If I'm off them,
that's so spot on.
So
fantasy too.
It's a no win. And I'll go Georgia State, but don't you dare bet my Utah State picks.
I'm going Georgia State as well. But we shall see. San Jose State, 10-point favorites against Coastal Carolina in the Hawaii Bowl. Chevin Cordero going back to Hawaii where he played his first couple of seasons. He's been great for San Jose State. Their turnaround has been quite remarkable.
That's huge.
Give me San Jose State. I think they win this game big. Just all the vibes. Brennan as well is related. Their head coach is
10-point
cousins
favorites
of Colt
to Coastal.
Brennan. Yeah.
You're taking the 10.
I think San Jose State, I might even buy a couple points. I think this is a murder.
I like the over as well, over 53.5. Yeah, fine.
McCall entered the portal.
Yeah,
this
no,
Coastal
no.
team's just in a weird spot.
Yeah, Cordero playing is huge. So yes, I'm
in Hawaii too. Like
Yeah.
just the vibes. The vibes all are in Hawaii's direction.
When you're in Hawaii as a team and you've got someone who's kind of got some hosting chops, that changes everything.
Yeah, it's going to be a home game for San Jose State. It's why they put them in it.
Yeah.
UNLV versus Kansas is not a game that many people across the country will be paying attention to. Actually, maybe so, just because they're fun stories. But no, this isn't a basketball game that we're interested in. UNLV 12.5-point dogs against Kansas. I don't have this in the notes, but UNLV lost a quarterback to the portal, Jordan Maeva, who's really, really encouraging. Good athlete, killed CSU.
Do we know what quarterback's starting for Kansas? That's really the question. They've started 3 different guys. Their third stringer covered the spread against Kansas State. I like the under. I don't think either of these teams are bringing their A game. 64.5 is crazy.
It's too high.
When we definitely know one starting quarterback's not there and we might not have the other. I think UNLV's scrappy. I think they come in this with some motivation to kind of like top off this season with a good note, and they cover the 12.5. Give me the Running Rebels.
I'm with you. I like UNLV to cover. I assume it's Doug Brumfield starting at quarterback for UNLV. If Maeva's in the portal, I'll have to verify that. But yeah, I like them to cover the 12.5. I think they run the ball well under Barry Odom. Defensively, they kind of established an identity there. So it'll be a fun one. Maybe worth throwing a few dollars on the UNLV money line, just because if you're like, how into this game is Kansas after, kind of their run last year? We shall see. Last bowl, Cowboy rides away after this one. Craig Bull's final game as a Wyoming Cowboy.
Indeed.
Announced kind of unceremoniously last Wednesday, and then we had to react on the fly. It does sound like the decision to promote Jay Sawville, the defensive coordinator, was not quite as rushed as it seemed to me in the moment, or at least that's the narrative that's being sold. Who knows if that's true or not.
Was it more of they were worried he was going to get poached and CB stepped down maybe a year early to be like, hey?
I think that was part of it. I think the trying to keep the
in.
continuity.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a tough spot in Laramie. It's not the easiest sell recruiting wise. You're not going to just feast in the portal like some of these other programs are.
Yeah.
Although it's a perfect example of like so many guys making decisions based on brand names and stuff. You want to go to the NFL? Craig Bull's a pretty good coach to play for.
Totally. And I mean, honestly, I think that campus is awesome. The location is
Laramie's
awesome.
a good college town.
You're into the outdoors. It's really cool. The stadium's really cool. It's remote, but I mean, I went to school in Gunnison, beautiful and all those selling points, and super remote.
Well, it just depends on what you're into.
I get the experience, and there's way more students than there are in Gunnison, so you can kind of figure out what to do internally and mingle a bit more. Yeah, man, I'm really intrigued to see what Wyoming is able to do this game and beyond. The line tells you everything. Because what are the records? 8-4 versus 11-1, right?
Yep.
And yet Wyoming's a 3-point favorite.
Yeah.
Don't need the scouting reports. Don't need the injury reports. The line has told me everything I know. Thank you very much. I will take the 3 points and the pokes and move on with my day.
Yeah, I'll take Wyoming outright as well. And to cover. I just think that team's going to play hard for Craig Bull. They got a veteran quarterback in Peasley. It's a good spot to be in.
It's a great spot to be in, man.
And nothing but respect for Craig Bull either, by the way. Tip of the hat to the old Cowboy. He was always awesome to me. And frankly, as a CSU guy, thank God he's finally stepping down, because dude has owned the Rams. And I say that with nothing but respect. Breckenridge Brewery. I'm repping them on my hat. They've been a long-time partner. There's no better way of doing anything. Watching a game, working on the car, taking a shower, as we talked about last week. Do it with a Breck brew in hand. What's your go-to Breck brew right now? What are you feeling these days?
Right now, I'm a peach guy.
Ooh.
Yeah. My sisters brought it into the house, the Palisade Peach. and it's just stuck.
I like that. I'm going to the Western Slope next week. I'm a big,
Very nice.
like I like Laramie. I like the Western Slope. I'm a redneck at heart. Let's just be real. Check out the Breck Beer Locator at breckbrew.com. Find a brew near you. I also, of course, got to shout out the premier dispensary of Northeastern Colorado. It doesn't get any better than High Plainz Strains. Guys, they've got an awesome deal on flower, high-potency concentrates, infused edibles, whatever you need. And it's super convenient. You can order online at highplainstrains.com. They've got drive-thrus, which you can pick up at any of their 3 convenient locations, one in Log Lane Village, one in Garden City, one in Sedgwick. Make sure you use the code DNVR or mention DNVR in stores for a full ounce for $80, Veritas 8th for $25, Mammoth 1 gram cartridges 15, Exquisite Extracts 4 for $40. One more time, use that code DNVR online or mention DNVR to take advantage of these High Plainz Strains deals. Finally, another longtime partner, Shady Rays. They make a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair, but you don't have to break the bank to look good, which we love.
They're the best, man. I love all the styles they offer. You know, you hold it in your hand. It's a real, like, sturdy sunglass. It's not some piece of junk you bought from the gas station. I've dropped several of my pairs, and they clean up real nicely. You know, I've got a kid, so, I mean, stuff happens. Stuff happens. I can leave them in the car. They're not going to, now I come in the car 2 days later and they got frozen and broken off. They've got, you know, just a great team behind them. Their replacement and refund deals are awesome. But what I really love, it's the styles, it's the quality of the lenses as well. It's a designer glass at like a third of the price. And then on top of that, our amazing deal when you use our code DNVR. Tell them, J-Mike.
When you use our code Shady Rays, they'll give you the best deal this season. Just go to their website and you can get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. I would rate Dre 5 stars, and I think 250,000 people would as well.
Wow.
Let's talk Mountain West Hoops Power Rankings before we get out of here.
Oh, yeah.
Not going to try not to drag on too long. Not a ton of movement this week, but a little bit, especially after last night. We'll start at the bottom. We'll work our way to the top. At the bottom, we've got Fresno State at 11, Air Force at 10. These are just programs that don't really support basketball, unfortunately. It's all about football there. It is what it is, as I joked last week. They don't even want me to talk Fresno hoops on the Fresno airwaves.
That was a great story. Very telling. Still not a single team in the conference with a below 500 record.
Great start. Really great start. Air Force has not played anyone. They're sitting there at 7-3. So, you know, I think you could make the argument that just record-wise they should be a little bit higher than they are. But, I mean, when you dive into the metrics, it's like not only have they not played a top 100 team, they haven't even played like a top 200 team. It's
tough.
It's been a rough schedule, and I think it's going to be a rough experience for them come league play. I've got San Jose State at 6-5 at number 9. I buy into Tim Miles. That's why I would put them over Air Force despite having a worse record. They have played stiffer competition. Mm-hmm. I think they have higher caliber guard play. I think they're going to be able to score a little bit easier. This one's fun. At 8, UNLV, when I filled this out last night, when I originally sent it to you, I had them dead last. And then they beat Creighton by double digits, which somehow the Mountain West beating a top 10 team is going to end up being bad for CSU.
It's going to be bad, yeah.
But this UNLV team, it's hard to judge. I mean, they've got both Boone brothers are eligible now that this 2-year thing has happened. We'll see if that holds up, but they certainly looked more versatile offensively last night. Maybe saved Kevin Kruger's job with this win because they'd already lost to Southern. Like it was looking bad.
Massive win. And yeah, ultimately it might hurt the Rams a smidge, but great weekend where, you know, Buffs have a big win, Huskies have a big win, you know, that really helped.
It's a good point. I mean, Washington beating Gonzaga helps a lot. CU dominating Miami, which by the way, the AP poll, guys, it is imperfect. I am really glad that The Rams stayed in the top 20. I felt like that was a tip of the cap of respect to CSU, despite losing at home to St. Mary's. Historically, they had never kept their standing in the top 25 with a loss. They always fall out. The Mountain West as a whole, that really usually happens. So I thought that was huge. At the same time, watching CU absolutely curb stomp Miami and then have Miami come in the rankings over them literally 24 hours later.
Insane.
It's an example of why it's a flawed process, and we don't want to wrap our entire identity up in it.
Yes.
It matters,
Great
but at
point.
the end of the day, we're playing for March, not for AP rankings, which have nothing to do with NCAA tournament seeding, the conference tournament. Like, at the end of the day, it's just it's a nice little feather in your cap, but it doesn't mean a whole lot.
For sure. And the Rams schedule speaks for itself. We don't need the AP to tell us that.
And that's a good point. I mean, they have had the best start in the league. Credit CSU, credit San Diego State, Boise State for really scheduling up. We'll get to Boise here in a sec. Wyoming 6-3, coming off of a nice win over Stephen F. Austin. It's a young team, but it's much more connected. Jeff Linder will have this team playing good basketball, come March. I think they're going to be frisky. But I would put Wyoming essentially like as the top of the worst tier of teams in the league.
Yeah. And 4-0 at home.
And Laramie's always going to be a tough place to play, that's a big factor in the Mountain West. Home court advantage is huge. Boise State at 7-3. I've got them at 6th. I think their upside is huge. I mean, Ogbo, Degenhart, Rice, that's a veteran presence. They've got a lot of size in the post. They can score. They have played a tough schedule, and they don't have a bad loss yet, which is huge, and they're kind of coming on here. But, they do have the losses, so I have them just kind of below these other teams here, despite the fact that a month from now I could see them being like third, second.
It's going to be intriguing. That's a fun team to watch right there. 6th spot's interesting. Not as interesting as your 5th spot.
We got
Do you
San
feel
Diego
a little
State.
vindicated that they dropped out of the top 25 when you weren't
I was fading them
overrating
a
them
little
last
bit.
week? Yeah.
Look, because I have so much respect for that program, because they're going to play good defense, because they have great athletes. I mean, Jason Ledee is a freak. They're going to be in the top 3 by the end of the season. I will say, though, they're flawed, and they struggle to score at times. They should have lost to UC Irvine the other night. They were down 5 with a minute left, and then UC Irvine missed 2 free throws. They had a backcourt violation. Like, literally could not have handed the game away any more than they did. And that was coming off of a loss at Grand Canyon. Both of their losses are true road losses in hostile environments. GCU and BYU, those are tough places to play.
Yeah.
I'm not really that worried about San Diego State, but you can see, they are a step down from what they were last year. The shot making's not quite there. The depth isn't quite what it was.
Them and Boise, though, 2 of the more intriguing teams in the league to watch and
take them seriously, because
come January,
they're going to be factors when we're playing the games that truly matter. Utah State, I've got them at 4 because of this 10-1 start. They have not played quite as impressive of a schedule as these other teams at the top, but the fact that they've been able to win 10 of the first 11 with a new coach and an entire new team, that's again, that's a great start and a tough place to play. Home court is going to be a big factor for them in Logan.
Yeah, and for example, some common opponents like UC Irvine, they handled them 1-10. I mean, their schedule's not terrible. Utah State, keep an eye on them.
A little frisky, and it's it's imperfect.
A little frisky for real.
Do I think San Diego State would beat Utah State if they played head to head? Yeah, probably. But that's not what I'm saying. We're looking at the big picture here.
Yeah.
I've got Nevada falling from 2-3 this week. Nevada 7-1. They lost by 20 to a good Drake team on a neutral court. Did respond against a deceptively frisky Weber State team that will probably win their league, or at least be in the mix. They're really athletic. They're well coached under Alford. This is a team you got to take seriously. But I put New Mexico at 2 just because I've been really impressed with their young guys, man. They're freshmen or they're leading scorers right now. And Jalen House, their star point guard, is finally healthy and kind of figuring it out. Look out, man. Richard Pitino at UNM, that was a hire that I was kind of skeptical of. I'll eat it, man. I was wrong. I was dead wrong. He's recruiting well. The community's fully bought in again. They've got a good staff. Shout out to my guy, Aaron Katsuma, who left CSU to be an assistant coach on their staff. They've won 8 straight, 5 of those games by 10-plus points.
It's pretty incredible, man. And I mean, this top 4 is super fun, and I feel like there's some carryover from the football season where we were like, it's not just the same names at the top, you know, like we're mixing it up. There are some fun programs that are doing it the right way and building some intriguing teams here.
Well, the parity is nice. I think, I mean, you've got 5 teams in the top 75 of net rankings, which is big, or in KenPom as well.
Yeah, and I mean, your top 4, all of them sporting just 1 loss.
Which is huge. And I do think that San Diego State's run to the national title game last year kind of validated the league a little bit. After, you know, they had struggled in the NCAA tournament. That was kind of a thing, you know, oh, it's kind of fool's gold. This time around, it feels like the country's really kind of taken the Mountain West. Teams like CSU, New Mexico, seriously.
Yes. Well, and I mean, the track record for teams like the Rams is huge, you know.
Well, it helps, yeah. I mean, obviously, they've been great under Medved these last couple of years. They've been really talented, been in some high-level games.
Yeah, I mean, sent guys to the league. I mean, the whole shebang.
And Roddy's doing his thing, by the way, starting for the Grizzlies right now. They're hurt. Obviously, the John Morant situation, it's wonky. It's not going to be a fun year for them, but he's getting really, really valuable experience.
Roddy, man. You love to see it.
Our guys, man. DNVR guys could not have been better to us during their time. I'll be rooting for them forever. A shout out to CSU, who remains at number 1 in our power rankings. Love to see it. Love to see what this program has accomplished. Need to avoid any more slip-ups before we get to the league slate, because then you start, you know, against New Mexico and you play go to Boise early on. Like it's going to be a gauntlet come conference play.
You just hate losing at Moby.
It's a tough one. Metric-wise, it was the one to lose out of these last 4, and you can afford it given that you beat CU, Washington, Creighton, Boston College. But yeah, you can't lose at home.
More of that broad perspective, which is what I try to bring. Going into that game as a bettor, if I didn't know much about either, like, let's say I didn't do a weekly Rams pod with you, you know, filling me in on everything that's going down in FOCO, I would have said, this is a great spot for St. Mary's. Like, the season isn't on the line, but like the non-conference was kind of on the line. Like, this was a team coming into the season ranked 23rd. It's the one team in that league that's been able to compete with Gonzaga. Like,
they got picked to win the league this year
team,
over
man, and you come down to, in a game where you really didn't play your best, where you've got some injuries, and they played some A+ level defense, and you have 2 great shots. 2 good shots, at least, right?
Yeah, you can't.
It sucks, right? Like, we had all this momentum riding high coming into that game.
They'd be a top 10 team, which would have been fun.
And that would have been, like, such an awesome scalp to have going into this week, going into this month where things really cool off and you can get healthy and just, like, get ready to go into conference play. It's a bummer, but as you said, from just, like, if you have more of a better overview and perspective, it was the one to lose. It happens. It was a great spot for St. Mary's and a tough spot for the Rams, and still right there.
I mean, you're not going to go 31-0. One team ever has gone undefeated in college basketball. One. So, you know, the loss was going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
Wish it wouldn't have happened at home.
You're saying they're not Bob Knight's Hoosiers, and Isaiah Stevens is not another Isaiah.
Well, it's what Medved joked. He's like, I guess we're not going to be the 76 Hoosiers. You know, like it happens.
Ball knowers.
At the same time, like, we have seen what this team is capable of. They have won in a variety of ways. They've won at home. They've won on the road. They have high-level point guard. They have a variety of guys that can score and they can post up on you. Like, all of these are things that are going to favor in CSU's way come NCAA tournament time. Got to keep the consistency. It's a battle of attrition at this point. You know, they've got to deal with some injuries here in the rotation. Yeah. But, I mean, they're well coached and just enjoy their ride. Like, it's fun. This break, though, has come at a perfect time. The Rams needed to have the 8 days off in between games.
Oh, God. What a great
CSU
time.
Pueblo at home on Sunday.
Yes.
Opportunity to, knock on wood, hopefully, you know, kick the crap out of them, get the vibes right.
Yeah. Come on.
And then Friday night, a deceptively, you know, tricky game at Santa Clara, and we'll see what happens there.
Tricky, deceptive. Happy holidays, my brother.
Happy holidays to you as well. Happy holidays to everybody in the comment section. I appreciate the engagement constantly. I appreciate that we have so much fun stuff to talk about. Hope you stay warm. Shout out to my guy Yahir behind the sticks, always doing his thing for us. It's actually a trip to LMU, not Santa Clara, by the way. on Friday night. Another WCC opponent, same difference. Always proud to be.
Shots fired.
Much love, y'all. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.